Hello, everyone, and welcome to OHSCA Interviews. I'm Vincenzo Calla, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, I'm happy to have with me a CPC leadership candidate and the MP for Carleton, the Honorable Pierre Poilievre. Pierre was first elected in the 2004 election in the riding of Nepean Carleton and has been re-elected 6 times since then, currently representing Carleton. In the 41st Parliament, Prime Minister Harper appointed him to be the Minister of State for Democratic Reform and then Minister of Employment and Social Development. Since 2017, Pierre has served in the shadow cabinets as Shadow Minister for Finance and also Shadow Minister for Jobs and Industry. Thank you, Pierre, for your time, and thank you for joining us. We are going to start off the interview with our question and answer segment. These questions are all asked by the members of our high school team. So the first question comes from Vasu in Ajax, and he wants to ask, what will you do to restore Canada's financial situation that Trudeau has put us into in terms of debt, inflation, and housing costs?
Well, let's remember why we have so much inflation. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. Inflationary deficits have sent $500 billion bidding up the price of goods, and inflationary taxes have increased the cost of making those goods. The more government spends, the more things cost. It's just inflation. What do we do about it? Do we reverse the costly government? We make government affordable, so life's affordable. I would eliminate the deficit by canceling Trudeau's $100 billion slush fund, getting rid of the $35 billion infrastructure bank that exists only to protect the profits of the corporations, when the construction companies, when they go over budget. I would save $1 billion by defunding the CBC. And I would bring in a pay-as-you-go law that requires government find $1 of savings for every $1 of additional spending. That would allow us to bring the cost of government down. So then we would be able to get rid of the carbon tax. The carbon tax is driving up the cost of gas, heat, and indirectly groceries and other transported goods. This is where we have a disagreement. Mr. Charest and Mr. Brown support the carbon tax. Brown supported it in Ontario. Mr. Charest brought it in Quebec. I would get rid of it right across Canada. Secondly, I would rein in the Bank of Canada. We have right now the Bank of Canada is responsible for hitting our 2% inflation target, but it's now at 6.7%. Probably go up tomorrow when the new numbers come out. So basically, they had one job: keep inflation at 2%. It's at 6.7%. What happens when you don't do your job as a waitress, a welder, or a truck driver? You lose your job. Well, I think it should be the same for the governor of the Bank of Canada, and that's why I would replace him with someone who will do the job. And I would reinstate a low inflation mandate and give the Auditor General the ability to make sure that the bank is upholding that mandate.
Well, those are all solid points. I mean, we see every day that under Trudeau, things aren't going well in terms of finances for Canadians, for everyday Canadians, and Canadians are starting to see that. So people want change, to see what can government do to help out, and unfortunately, Trudeau's not really doing that right now. So we're going to go into the second question, which is kind of looking at government as a whole and the public service. So I wanted to ask you, how do you envision the current Canadian public service in the coming years as we're exiting the pandemic? And would you change it in any way if you were to become Prime Minister?
Look, we have a great public servants. The problem is the system. We have a bureaucratic system that allows for a small number of gatekeepers and key positions to hold up everyone else. So let's take, for example, the issue of new immigrants who come here as professionals or tradespeople. They can't work in their field because they can't get a license to practice. Local provincial bureaucracies deprive them of a license. I would incentivize the provinces to mandate that every immigrant who applies to work in a profession or trade should get a yes/no answer within 60 days, rather than the endless maybe that leaves them doing low-wage work while they wait for a response. And licensing should be based on skills-based testing. to determine what people are able to do rather than where they come from. Those who fall just short of getting a license should get a small study loan to help them take time off work, do the testing and training to get themselves licensed and get themselves working in the field. And that's just one example of the gatekeepers that we can remove, and we can unleash the full potential of our thousands of brilliant immigrants who are being held back. Let's do the same in the energy sector so that we can build pipelines, dig lithium mines, unleash the power of our 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas that could break foreign dependence on coal and dictator energy. Let's use it to build, let's get the gatekeepers out of the way so that we can supply our own oil and stop importing 130,000 barrels of overseas oil every day. Replace that with Canadian oil. So that's I think we remove the gatekeepers, we can unleash the production and potential of our people and make us all better off.
Well, definitely. And I think something, especially on the oil, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but we see every day the government saying we need to get away from oil and gas, yet they still go out and buy oil from unclean nations. So why not just unlock Canada's potential while they're trying to exit oil? Just use Canada's in the meantime. So the third question is a question from Jack from Milton, and he wants to ask, currently, we're seeing that the Conservative Party of Canada is experiencing a lot of infighting in terms of what direction should the party go, who should lead it. So he wants to ask you, if elected leader, how will you work to truly unite Conservatives within the party and make a united Conservative Party who can form a majority government?
Well, I think we need to unite around freedom. Progressive Conservatives want the freedom for immigrants, minorities, women, gays and lesbians, First Nations to live their lives without discrimination or interference from the state. Fiscal Conservatives want economic freedom to control their own money and start businesses with government out of the way. Social Conservatives want the freedom to raise their kids with their own values and preach their faith without censorship. Libertarian Conservatives want the freedom to speak without censorship on the internet and elsewhere. Rural Conservatives want the freedom to own their own property without undue confiscation. So if we unite around this principle of freedom, it can really bring all of the different parts of our coalition together in a wonderful and durable coalition that can't be broken apart by our political opponents.
Well, I mean, I think that we currently see Trudeau dividing Canadians, whether it's based on what they believe in or who they voted for in the last election. And it's important that any leader that comes in and any person who becomes the next prime minister goes away from that division and tries to unite Canadians as a whole, as one strong nation once more. So we're going to go into question 4, which we have back with us one of our OHSCA alumni, Brandon Lee, who's going to be asking Pierre a question in French. Brandon, take it away.
D'abord, merci beaucoup, Monsieur Poilievre, pour venir. Ça fait quelques ans qu'on s'est parlé. La première fois que je t'ai vu, c'était sur la campagne d'Abdoul Abdi, ici à Ottawa-Nepean. C'est oui. Quand ils ont ouvert leur bureau, alors c'est un plaisir pour vous revoir au moins. Alors, mon question pour vous est comme tout simplement, on voit que chez la communauté francophone, les conservateurs ne sont pas comme tellement populaires, je dirais. Alors, comment est-ce que vous, comme chef du Parti conservateur du Canada, allez chercher le soutien du communauté francophone?
Mais tout d'abord, en leur parlant dans leur langue et de communiquer avec eux les valeurs communes que nous partageons avec eux. Les valeurs de patrimoine, d'héritage et de préserver la culture francophone et la francophonie. Moi, je suis un grand défenseur de la francophonie, surtout dans ma famille. Mon père, mon arrière-grand-père est venu au Canada de la France il y a 100 ans. Mon père m'a enseigné le français quand j'étais très jeune. Il m'a dit que si j'étais capable d'écrire mes vœux de Noël en français, que le Père Noël allait être beaucoup plus généreux. Et maintenant, j'essaie de transmettre ces mêmes choses, ces mêmes valeurs à mes enfants. Ma fille assiste à une garderie française ici à Ottawa et nous voulons qu'elle assiste aussi à une école francophone aussi plus tard. Donc, les services et la préservation de la francophonie, ça m'importe énormément. à cause de mon histoire, mais aussi à cause du futur que je veux bâtir pour mes enfants, et je vais me battre pour la francophonie toujours.
Mais parfait. C'est ce que je voulais entendre parce qu'on sait vraiment que pendant les dernières ans, on sait que la langue française, ça fait attaquer effectivement par beaucoup de personnes. Puis, honnêtement, c'est important qu'on ait un chef du Parti conservateur qui veut défendre la langue française. Puis, honnêtement, merci beaucoup pour cette réponse. Puis, bonne journée.
Merci beaucoup.
We will be moving on to advice for the next generation, where we'll be talking about youth involvement in politics and more. So we like to ask this question to every single person who has come on our show. And the question is, what should young high school conservatives do in order to get more politically active, in one piece of advice that you would like to give them?
Well, for politics, just get involved and start doing the stuff that the adults do. Don't think that you need to be subjugated to or set aside in a smaller role. Just get involved and start working your way up. I actually think the most powerful skill building task for anyone wanting to learn politics is actually door knocking and trying to persuade voters one-on-one, because the principles of face-to-face persuasion are the same whether you're on a doorstep or on a stage in front of 10,000 people. It's about speaking clearly in few words to communicate what you want, and getting real-time reaction from the person standing in front of you. So get out, door knock, learn how to talk politics with everyday people. And at the same time, I would say read a lot of history, read a lot of books, the original books though, not the books about books, but the original books themselves, the classics from John Locke to John Stuart Mill to Plato, to Machiavelli, to all of the great authors of the past, rather than reading what professors write about those authors. That gives you the intellectual foundation for your agenda and for your ideology. And so they can also combines practicality from door knocking and campaigning with theory from reading books.
Definitely a great combo there for any young person wanting to get involved in politics, and just reading all types of books helps you unlock so many different potentials. So thank you, Pierre, for your time today. We really appreciate you being with us. Good luck on your campaign, and thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, good friends, and I look forward to the broadcast.
Thank you. And that is it. We hope you enjoyed today's interview. You can look for more videos coming soon. Make sure to follow our Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok accounts at Ontario OHSCons for info about our next interview and for more great content. Make sure to look at our website at ontariohsconservatives.org to learn more about us, to see our projects, and for more great content. For our YouTube viewers, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell so you never miss a video. For our podcast listeners, make sure to follow us, stay updated with new episodes. We hope to see you all soon. Thank you.